Principal Secretary Lilian Bogo Omolo and the National Youth Service Boss Richard Dubai are currently before Parliament's Public Accounts Committee. I can see the chairperson there. This is, of course, in regards to the 9 billion Kenya shilling NYS scandal. Remember, these two officials were actually asked to step aside on Friday to allow investigators to complete their probe. And at this time, we have an update from that meeting where, remember, this was supposed to be a joint meeting for State Department of Planning and State Department of Youth and Public Affairs and Public Service, but the latter has sent an apology explaining unpreparedness to attend and respond to the Auditor General's queries of the financial year 2014-2015 and 2015-2016. Let's immediately take you there right away for that live coverage.
The committee has resolved to invite the Cabinet Secretary currently responsible for the State Department of Public Service and Youth to appear before it on the same day, same time. Third, the committee has also resolved to invite the Cabinet Secretary that was in office the Cabinet Secretary responsible for Public Service and Youth that was in office during the period 2014-15 and 2015-16, whose reports are currently under review by the committee. We have additionally resolved to invite the Director General who was in office, the Director General of the National Youth Service, who was in office during the period 2014-15 and 2015-16, whose reports are currently under review. I also want to make some clarification, because you've seen media reports that could actually mislead the public. As I've said at the onset, this committee is undertaking routine examination of the audited accounts of the various state departments. It so happens that at the time when the State Department of Planning was due to appear before us, there emerged public debate about certain financial matters concerning the National Youth Service, which I have said was under the State Department of Planning then. There has also been talk that the Auditor General has not yet released the report for financial year 2016-2017, which would address or cover these matters that are currently in the public domain concerning the NYS. I wish to clarify that the committee is very much alive to that fact. The committee, as you know, deals with reports tabled before the House. It deals with the reports of the Auditor General as tabled before the House. And the reports that have been tabled before the House that we are examining currently, that touch on the National Youth Service, and specifically the report of the 2015-2016, is very clear insofar as it addresses very directly the matters of the National Youth Service, some of which have come out in the public domain in the recent past. Specifically, if you look at that particular report, 2015-16, paragraph 113. That is on page 55. There's the matter of use of goods and services, which relate directly to the NYS. If you look at paragraph 115 on page 56, on the matter of acquisition of assets, relates directly and squarely to the National Youth Service. And if you look at paragraph 119 on page 58, the matter of pending bills, this concerns the National Youth Service directly. And finally, if you look at paragraph 121, page 59 of the report of financial year 2015-16, there's the matter of Director General National Youth Service payments, which matter again directly concerns the National Youth Service. So the committee is rightfully seized of the matter. Rightfully seized of the matter. And the committee intends to go about its business of examining these accounts in the normal manner, without fear or favor, and without any prejudice whatsoever. So, having said that, I'll go back to my first question that I want to direct to the cabinet, to the principal secretary, who is the accounting officer for the State Department of Planning, who is before us this morning. Please confirm to the committee if you are in a position to respond adequately to all the matters raised under the State Department of Planning for the financial years 2014-15 and 2015-16.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I want to state that the matters raised by the Auditor General in 2014-2015 and 2015-2016, a large number of them, actually almost over 90%, relate to other departments that are not under planning now. And that is where the information is. They relate mainly to public service and the youth. There are a few under gender, but then again, that is under public service now. So that is where the information is, and those are the institutions and departments who are competent to provide the responses. Thank you, sir.
So can you confirm and on record that truly these matters that you alluded to can only be answered by the accounting officer responsible for public service and youth?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I want to confirm to this committee that the matters that are raised by the Auditor General can only be answered competently by the accounting officer in the public service.
And youth.
Sir. And youth. Thank you, sir.
And youth. So which particular matters can you possibly respond to? The few that you are talking about here.
Thank you, sir. Let's start with 14-15.
Yes.
And the report that is in front of us, the things that my office can respond to are things of an accounting nature in terms of the trial balance, why the trial balance is not balancing, which is mainly issues to do with IFMIS. So it's just general housekeeping issues.
No, go to specific paragraphs. You know, here we deal with specific issues, not general matters.
Thank you, Chair. I am on page 2.
Page what?
Page 2 of the basis of the claim of opinion.
Which paragraph?
Roman 1, comparative figures.
Please help us here. But
let them use the printed book, please, because the report doesn't go together with this one.
oh,
Yeah.
can somebody guide him? Just open page 143 on a PS. Page 143 of that book that is being brought to you. It could guide you. And even as you do that, have you submitted any formal response? Any written submission?
Honorable Chairman, we haven't submitted the responses because we are waiting for the bulk of the responses to come from public service. So that is why I was reading from this, but then with your guidance, I can go now to the big book.
So what will you be responding now?
Honorable Chairman, we looked at the points that were raised by the auditors in the office. And when we looked at them, as I said, we asked the departments who were under planning at that time to provide us with the responses.
Yeah.
And because they did not, we've been waiting for them actually to give us so that we can compile something that we can present. We haven't been able to, but you have asked me whether there's anything that I can...
So just stop there first.
Yeah.
You said you've asked the departments which are in a position to respond to those issues. Which are these departments? Again on record.
Honorable Chairman, the Public Service and Youth.
Yes.
It's the one that we asked. We also asked gender, and we got the responses from gender.
Okay.
What we haven't received, Honorable Chairman, is the responses from Public Service and Youth, which is the bulk of what is required here.
So, yes. Honorable Munyoro.
Chair, even as we interrogate the PS, I'd want to add my voice to yours that indeed this committee is very disappointed, especially by the letter that we received just this morning from the relevant department that should be giving us answers on the questions we have in relation to issues that happened like 1 or 2 years ago. And Chair, I want to see as a member of this committee and also as a youth, because I believe most of the matters that are in the public domain could scare some of the witnesses that we have called. I want to state very clearly that this committee has a mandate, and beyond this mandate that we have to interrogate how public resources are used, I also want to say that there is nowhere they'll hide. We have summoned them on a Friday. There is nowhere to hide, and there is no way that they are going to run away from the questions we have, and especially the public have, in regards to the issues raised by the Auditor General, and also in relation to the issue that is out there in the public domain, insofar as NYS is concerned. I also want to confirm as a youth that even if they run from this committee or any other jurisdiction, they can't run away from the youth of Kenya. So I want the PS to do his part insofar as giving us answers on the specific issues that are raised here. But I also want Kenyans to know and the youth to know that we will do everything within our mandate as PAC and as the young people of this country, so that we put to book everyone who has taken any coin that belongs to the youth of this country.
Fair enough, Honorable Nyoro.
Sure.
Honorable Kingi.
I think, Chair, your question is very clear and direct concerning which areas the PS can go for. He said that 90% of the matter fall in the matters, only the matters that fall within that department. For the matters that fall in another department, that for youth and public service, he can leave them out. But for today, we had expected him to come here with a response on the matters that fall within the Department of Planning.
Okay. He was in the process of explaining something. Yes. And as you do the explanation, just let us know if you have got copies of the correspondence that you had with the State Department of Public Service and Youth specifically.
Thank you, Chairman. With respect to, I think the last point that you've asked about correspondence, we have been talking on phone, so I don't have
On
something.
phone?
Yeah, I don't have something written.
Is that how
following them?
state business is transacted these days?
Honorable Chairman, they have responsibility to respond to the issues that were raised. And the Auditor General's report that was given to us, they have a copy of that Auditor General's report. And so we've been following them up so that they can do their part in enabling us to be able to compile all the responses together. And so I seek your indulgence, Chair, that you give us up to Friday and we'll be able to do a substantive piece as you know, we combine with the others and have a compiled and you know, complete report that has got all the responses. That way then we'll be able to do justice to all the issues that are raised here.
Well, that is still fine, but then, before my vice chair comes in, remember that our invitation to these other fellas for Friday stands. That even if you get those responses from them, they will have to come and sit there where you are seated currently. You can sit alongside them, okay? You can even do the presentation on their behalf, but they'll have to be there to answer to supplementary questions that will definitely arise. Is that okay?
That is okay, Honorable Chair, that yeah, they will come on Friday as you have summoned them. And we also want to seek your indulgence so that we also come and
yes,
present our written responses on the bits that relate to planning. But as I said, it's just on the accounting issues to do with IFMIS that will be demonstrating how, as an accounting office, we were able to account through IFMIS what transactions the other departments were doing. And Honorable Chair, I want to hasten to add that, with your permission, during that time, the State Management of Planning was not only looking after public service and youth, it was also looking after gender,
yes, the
arid and semi-arid lands program, and devolution as well. And so it is quite big in terms of what is there for history to deal with. But my commitment to this honorable committee is that we will be able to compile to the best of our ability by Friday and bring something, a written report to this committee.